So have you ever seen a pigeon stretch before? Right? I haven't seen it before either, but we're gonna show you guys a stretch, okay, that actually helps with lower back stuff. I have a lot of lower back issues that I've been dealing with recently. So these are some of the stretches that I've done for a while, okay? And they help me, so I hope they can help you guys too. So here's some of the stretches that you can do if you have any kind of lower back pain. Because I know a lot of athletes that we work with here, you know, if you're sitting at the desk a lot, your hips get tight and your back start bugging you and your hamstrings will get tight. So this will help loosen everything up around there for us to be able to get actually a good deep squat position, because mobility is one of those things that I think actually hinders strength a lot. Okay, but if we can get mobility on point, then we're gonna be able to get a lot stronger as well. So these stretches are actually gonna be focusing everything around this lower body, around your hips and your glutes. The first stretch is actually a pigeon pose. That's why I talked about pigeons in the beginning. Now, if you have a bench, we're gonna use a bench. It's gonna be a modified pigeon pose. All right, so what I'm gonna do, you're gonna take your leg, you're gonna put it right on top, all right? Now, when you first go on, sometimes this happens with my hip. So if you take a look at what's going on here, sometimes I start leaning over to the side, okay? What I like to do for myself, so I feel it more in my glute, because my body is tight, so I naturally shift over here. I'm gonna try and shift my body. You see what goes on with my leg there? I'm gonna try and shift it so it's more of a 90 degree. And once I shift that, I feel a lot more in my glutes. Now, a lot of the time, what I used to do, I used to try and do my best to go as low as I could. But then what I'm doing there is actually, I'm taking the stretch out of my glutes there, and I'm actually just using my spine for mobility. So we don't want to do that. We want to actually keep your back nice and tall, my head tall. And the cue I like to use for myself and when I coach other people is I say think about your belly button going forward, okay? So belly button going forward, all right? Now, if you do it like that, you're actually gonna feel a lot bigger of a stretch right there in your glutes. If you're tight in your hammies, you might feel it in your hammies a little bit, right? But think about head up tall, back is straight, and belly button coming down. So you hold on each one about 10-15 seconds. Another thing you can do is you can also start thinking about getting a little twist going on. So another thing I can think of is I think about my belly button, turning it a little bit. So now I'm facing the corner. Now I'm thinking about bringing it towards my knee. You hold this one about 10-15 seconds, all right? After you do a few big breaths here, after you count to around 15 seconds, you can think of another twist, and you bring belly button over here towards your toe. So now we're getting all these different angles, okay? We're just shifting the angles around. I went forward, I went to the side, I went to the other side, and you're gonna be doing the same thing on both sides, right? You'll be doing the same thing on both sides. Now, we got the glutes and we got that external rotation in your hip. Now, next thing that we're gonna do is actually start stretching out more of these, the hip flexors a little bit more. So if you take a look from the side, one of the things that happens a lot is when we're sitting, we're always in this tightened up position. So they're always, if you think about these muscles are fired up here, or they're in this this position where you're getting tight. And we want to do the opposite because we're sitting there for hours, right? So one of the things that we can do, you bring it up, your foot right on top of an elevated surface. I'm gonna bring my knee down to the floor. Right? Now, same thing, my head is up tall, and I'm gonna lean it forward. Now, one thing that we do want to avoid is take a look at my back here. So one of the things that can happen is if we're super tight, I can start, and I try to lean forward, I might just bend my back instead. And we'll be like, oh, I'm getting such a good stretch. But what we're really doing is we're actually just bending the back. We want to try to avoid bending the back so much. So the cue I give is give a little bit of tightness. You don't need to flex super hard, but give a little bit of tightness to your abs. All right, so your back is straight, and then you can give it a lean forward. Now you're gonna feel it more in those hips. That way the hips will take on the stretch instead of your spine just curving into it to compensate. And we'll hold that. So same thing, you hold each stretch is usually around 10 to 15 seconds. If you want to hold longer, you can hold longer about 20 to 30 if you want. Now, after those stretches, that stretch gets a little bit of a hold. What I'm gonna do is look at my glute here. Come to the side here. Now, look what happens. I'm still uptight. I want to stretch my quads now. So I'm gonna bring my glute to my heel, and I'm just gonna lean it back. Right now, you should feel it more up here in your quads. And you do the same hold, okay? About 10 to 15 seconds. The last one, after you guys end up getting both sides, is we're gonna go for your hamstrings. We did your glutes already. All right, we did the hips. Now, what we want to go for is the back of the legs, right there, those hamstrings. Because remember, when you're sitting in that position, what's going on here, they're like always constantly flexed, right? You're not like actively using them all the time, but they're in this position where they're just gonna get tight. So we want to do the opposite and stretch them out. So what I'm gonna do is a subtle stretch. I'm just gonna go forward and I'm gonna lean. Now, what I want to make sure we do here is look at my hips. The hips are actually facing straight forward, all right? I have my hips facing straight forward. When we're really tight, we're gonna try and compensate, and then our hips, you see what happened there? My hips will shoot out instead. I want my hips not to face to the side. I want it to face towards my foot. I remember that straight back and belly button cue. It's gonna be that same exact cue here again. All right, so my back's nice and flat, my head is tall. You think about belly button coming towards your thigh while your hips face forward. You see? Now, it's not a competition. It's not trying to see, I can touch my toe, I can get down super low. Because if you take a look, what's happening is my spine's just compensating for it again. You see? And now that stretch is going out of my hamstring where we want it, and we're just using our spine. So remember, you're up tall, belly button down, all right? And you think about belly button there. Now your back will be nice and straight, your hips are forward, and you actually feel it in your hamstrings, even if you're not getting as low as you initially thought you would. And you're gonna hold about 10, 15 seconds, or 15, 20 seconds there as well. Now, you can actually repeat through that thing about 2 or 3 times. It should take you maybe about, if you do them right, about 10 minutes. And you can do that before, maybe after your workout, or even just the middle of your work day too. And I'll tell you what, like one of these things that's hardest to do when we're working with a new athlete and they're learning all the basic movements like squat, bench, and deadlift. One of the things that actually limit people a lot is the ability to, touch their toes and sink down into a deep squat. So we can get you guys mobile and get you guys stretching and you're able to do that on your own. That's basically homework for people who come in. All right, so go ahead, try those stretches out. You do it consistently, give yourself about 2 weeks, and you're gonna notice a big improvement. It'll be easier to get into stronger positions. And then if you can get into stronger positions, you can start lifting more weights. You lift more weights, you get stronger, you start building some more muscle. You build more muscle, we start burning some more calories. All right, y'all, we'll see you.